we are next going to be going into a career strategy conversation that's going to feature both previous fellows who now actually work at Respectability. Isabella won't be on that one, but Isabella does fall into that category, as well as some current fellows to learn a little bit more about our National Leadership Program and how it could help you in your career, as well as advice from our panelists on general career strategy conversation. So I am going to now pass the baton back to my colleague, Graciano. Graciano Peterson is going to be moderating this next panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren. Such informative information about getting and pursuing a career in the entertainment and news media industries. Thank you so much to all of those panelists and to Lauren for leading that conversation. Next up, we're going to have a conversation with our current fellow and a few former fellows around pursuing this fellowship and how this has gotten them into positions that they're hoping to get into. I do have to acknowledge right off the bat that this conversation is happening in the wake of the passing of somebody who has had a lot to do with bringing this fellowship program to where it is right now. We recently lost our senior manager of the National Leadership Program, Ben Spangenberg. He passed away a couple of weeks ago after a short stay in the hospital. And our thoughts are definitely with him and his family at this time. But Ben was responsible for leading the National Leadership Program for the last few years. We have had the pleasure of having alumni of over 300 participants in the program, and almost 200 of those participants were selected under Ben's leadership. So it's definitely a large loss for the community and for our programming, but the people who are on this panel today were selected by Ben, and we wanted to make sure that we are doing this and honoring him and his legacy, and remembering him today. So thank you all for joining us in this conversation. Again, I'm Graciano Peterson. I am the Senior Director for Talent, Culture, and Training, and currently leading the programming for our National Leadership Program, also known as our fellowship. And I am going to be joined in this conversation by some of our current fellows, one current fellow in Grace Ogden Parker, and a couple of former fellows or current staff members in Rostam Dadian and Jake Stimmel. I'd like to invite all of them to turn their cameras on and join us in this conversation today. So again, for those of you who may be newly joining, I am a Black man with black curly hair. I'm wearing dark rimmed glasses and a white shirt. I'm going to have each of our panelists introduce themselves and also give their visual descriptions as well, and talk about a little bit about what their current positions are and what that is. So we'll start with Jake.
Thank you. I'm Jake Stimmel. I am the Disability Training and Consulting Bureau Associate at RespectAbility. I am a young adult white man with brown hair, glasses, and a blue and white decorated shirt. I was a fellow from January to May of 2021. Currently in my role as the Disability Training and Consulting Bureau Associate, I train and consult with organizations. So you have nonprofits, corporations, educational institutions, government administrations on all topics surrounding disability inclusion. Graciano mentors me in that work. And yeah, it's been a really great ride at Respectability thus far.
Thank you, Jake. Rostam.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rostam Dadian. I am the Policy Associate here at Respectability. I was a part of the fall 2021 cohort of the Respectability Fellowship, and I am a Middle Eastern man with short brown hair and a little bit more of a 5 o'clock shadow. So it's great to be with everybody today.
Thank you, Rostam. And Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace Ogden Parker. I am one of the current fellows in the Policy and Civic Engagement Department. And I'd like to describe myself real quick. I'm a white female, brown hair, blue glasses, blue headphones, blue shirt, everything blue, as always. And I have the gray Respectability 10th anniversary background. I'm in the current cohort, and some of the things that I'm working on is trying to build coalitions in the states, trying to learn how to write policy briefs and things like that. And I'm just really excited to be here.
Thanks so much, Grace. It's great to have a theme. I love that your theme is blue today. All right. So Rostam, tell us why you wanted to pursue Respectability's fellowship program.
So the reason why I wanted to pursue the Respectability Fellowship is because it fell in between the lived experience I have as a blind and visually impaired person from birth and my interest in politics. And so that intersection got me into thinking about how I can pursue my interests while also trying to change from having an academic background in finance and kind of seeing how those skills I learned in my academic background can translate to policy, and so I can work better towards leading and leaving a world better than I found it.
Wow, thanks for that, Rostam. Grace, how about you? What led you to pursuing Respectability's fellowship program?
Well, as many in Respectability know, I applied 5 times. This is my 5th time applying. I've been applying for 2.5 years, and 5th time's the charm. Everybody says 3rd time's the charm, if that's the saying, but I'll tell you, it's 5th time or 7th time or 20th time. It doesn't matter. If you really want something, keep going. I really wanted it pretty bad, apparently. That's because, you know, most of my life, I learned what everybody else learned, which was very little about disability, because I didn't know I was born with a disability, because mine was less apparent to people, and there was a lot less known about its presentation in anyone other than small child males. I am autistic, and nowadays we know a lot more about it, although there's still a lot that the general public doesn't know, and quite a few people who should know don't know. And that's why I've been so interested in advocacy for autistic people. And then that kind of spread out into all disabilities as I became closer and closer with a lot more of the disability community and learning a lot more about everything that's going on with that. And there's still so much to learn. Nobody can know it all, but I'm going to try. And that's part of why I'm here, is so that I can learn as much as I can, and then I'll move on to the next ability to learn as much as I can, until someday I hopefully will know everything before I die.
Well, Grace, I think your persistence has already demonstrated that if anybody's going to learn everything, it's going to be you. So we believe in you. All right. And Jake, how about you? Why did you want to pursue Respectability's fellowship program?
So I was also persistent, but not as persistent as Grace. I only applied to the fellowship twice. And then the second time I applied for the Community Outreach and Impact Department. And really, when I graduated college, I wanted to expand my knowledge of the disability community beyond past my own experiences. And I just felt like community outreach and impact was a great way to do that. You know, building partnerships, building coalitions, getting to see what the broader disability community and the broader community at large was really thinking around these issues. And to this day, being able to consult and train with all types of organizations is a really rewarding and also a very educating process. I learn a lot from all of my clients, whether they, wherever they are on their disability inclusion journey, whether they're at the beginning, whether they are, whether they think they know more than they know, or whether they're much further along on their journey than some of my other clients. You know, you learn a lot from working with others and from others' experiences and others' perspectives. And that was really why I pursued this fellowship in the beginning.
Thank you all so much for sharing. I'd like to get into maybe how the fellowship program is going to help you all in your future careers, or how do you imagine that it will? So I'll start with Grace for that one.
Of course. Well, obviously, I think it's going to play a big role. You know, I think that I tried for so long to just kind of do advocacy on my own, and that is absolutely ridiculous because, as we know from unions and coalitions and organizations and everything, we're always better together than we are alone. And I think the union saying is together we fight, alone we beg, or something like that. And it's true to a degree, but it's a little more complicated than that. And I think that working together is really where we're going to make a difference. And I think that that's something I'm learning a lot about here, is collaborating and building coalitions and making connections and networking and growing that community to work together to make some changes.
Thank you for that, Grace. Jake, how about you? How do you feel like it's going to help your career?
Yeah, so I feel like partnership building and advocacy is something that can help me in any field that I choose to go into, whether it be in the nonprofit world, whether it be in the corporate world. But you know, partnership building, and then you know, really getting my point across about disability inclusion, even if it's not in a disability space that I'm working in. If I'm trying to get my point across on disability inclusion, I feel like that my experience at RespectAbility has really helped me do that.
Thanks for that. Okay, Rostam, how about you?
I think that building off of what Jake and Grace already pointed out, I do believe the community aspect is such a big thing, because everybody has value to bring, and you're gonna learn something from everybody. Like Grace said, nobody knows everything, but we would all hope that, like, at the end of the day, we would know everything. But with that aspect of community, we build that relationship and we try to see where each of us can fit and build out solutions to the problems that we see in front of us. So I think having those skills and having that recognition of knowing how to integrate everybody into the conversation is something that I carry with me, and I know no matter what I do will be a huge tool for me to achieve any of the goals that I seek.
Great, thanks for that, Ross. And speaking of community, you know, we always like to hear from our community as well. So those of you who are participating and have any questions for our you know, fellowship members, please be sure to ask. You know, the fellowship application is currently open, and if you are thinking about pursuing, these are great candidates, right, to ask your questions to, right? We have the persistence that has been demonstrated in getting into this program, and they can give you all the advice you might need in completing your application. So, you know, let's think about our former fellows, current staff members. I'm going to go to you all first and to talk about what skills that you gained during your fellowship have most prepared you for your current role. And let's start with Rostam on that one.
So I think a couple of the big skills that I learned that most prepared me for what I'm doing now is learning how to network, learning how to utilize the people around you to achieve the tasks that you have to do. And it's okay to lean on people. Like I said earlier, like, we're all a community. And if you've never done something, it's okay to be like, hey, like, Graciano, I've never done this. Can you help me out? Or can you show me? Because it saves us both time, that if it's something that Graciano has already done, he can show me, and then we could save our time and I can go on and finish that task and move on to the next one. So I think that's a very important skill to have is to utilize the resources around you, no matter what they would be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely making sure your interrelational skills are on point, and being comfortable asking questions. I love that. Jake, how about you?
So I have to provide a little background on this question.
Okay.
My supervisor actually left a month and a half into my fellowship. And I really gained the ability to deal with change and just balancing different priorities and both the administrative side and my actual work. My time at Respectability thus far has been there's been plenty of change, nothing short of that. It's really a balancing game of balancing the change and also balancing your actual work priorities. So it's really taught me to deal with change and deal in a work environment, I would say.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, being adaptable to change is something that's incredibly important. It's something that will serve you very well, no matter what your next career opportunity may be. Grace, how about you? What are some skills that you're hoping to gain during this fellowship? Or maybe there are some skills that you've already started working on so far.
Yes, both.
Mhm.
I have both answers. As far as skills that I've already been learning, you know, this is weird to say as an autistic person because we're known for being very narrow focused. But I came into this wanting to fix everything. So my focus is pretty broad, and I was struggling with that. And I talked to Rostam. Rostam is great. And he's in the same department I'm in, and he's been a great mentor. And I also spoke to another person who's been connected to Respectability for a long time, Ole Cantos, and he helped me literally break down how I'm going to narrow my focus. And the funny thing is that he narrowed my focus to a very broad topic still, but that actually gave me a lot of direction, which is all kind of stuck in my head right now. I'm gonna have to put it all on paper before I can move forward. But that's one area that I really learned a lot, and I've learned a lot about networking as well. But what I'm really learning right now and want to continue to learn a lot more of is the ways in which we can engage with our community and our elected officials, and I really want to make systemic change. And so I want to be able to build those connections and influence those connections to make change as well. And so we're doing that. I've been learning quite a lot as far as how to write about what we want to communicate to others. And I can't wait to learn more about it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Grace. That was a really great insight into what you're currently working on and what you're hoping to additionally focus on. And we all know that I could change too, right? So, all right. So let's think about, as you are currently pursuing your careers and advancing in your careers and in your fellowship opportunity, how do you seek out additional professional development opportunities, right? Whether it be in another fellowship or in some other sort of full-time employment, what is the best way to go about doing that? Let's start with Jake.
Thank you. So I've learned a lot about networking through my experience at Respectability, and really just leveraging. I know we've talked in the summit a lot about putting your network to work, and I've learned a lot about how to best utilize LinkedIn through my time here at Respectability. Also, we have this tendency in the nonprofit world to bring our work home. We all love what we do, and it becomes such a part of who we are. So I would say that setting boundaries and creating a work-life balance is also a really important thing that I've learned to do. Still working on it, still surf LinkedIn when I'm done working, and still continue to engage in that networking. But I think that's something that we all do. yeah, I think that's a really important way to maintain your mental health, and something that Luan was talking about in the last panel, really about setting those boundaries and putting yourself first. And we can't do the work that we want to do if we're not mentally right,
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's very hard working in a disability inclusion and disability advocacy organization made up of majority of people with disabilities to then say, don't take your work home, because you are your work, right? So it's very difficult. How about you, Rustam?
Can you repeat the question, because I
Sure.
laughed so much I forgot it. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. How do you seek out additional professional development opportunities, either other fellowships or other full-time employment, as you're doing the work that you're doing now?
Okay, this is a really great question, because it's something I've leaned on a lot academically. So I'm a planner. So whatever it is I want to do, like I went from community college with an associate's in business to getting into finance. So I was like, how can I supplement my education at the university with something that'll help me understand finance more practically rather than theoretically? So I sought out like YouTube videos that had people in the professional realm doing PowerPoint presentations about how the industry works. And I also like looked at different universities who had like open courses online. So that's how I did stuff like that. And with the resources we have here, I kind of do the same thing. I plan out my professional development around tasks I'm working on. So if we're doing a networking event with the fellows, I'll read about networking before I talk about it with them, so that I have a better grasp of it, so we can all learn together. It's a planning process. It's a process of knowing what I want the outcomes to be before I start to actually seek the professional development that I'm looking for. So that in summary is like how I go about it.
Yeah, that's great, Awesome. I hear there in that sort of a mindset towards just a space of continuous learning and continuous growth. So, and I love that. How about for you, Grace? What are you doing right now to think about what might be next in your professional development, whether it be a fellowship or a full-time job? How do you pursue that right now as you're completing your fellowship?
There's quite a few ways. I'd like to circle back to the networking that Jake was talking about, because that's a huge part of what we're doing here, is the networking at all our levels, not just at the fellowship level, but for the fellowship level, it is definitely a personal or a professional development stage of it, because we have to learn how to do that within this realm. And the nice thing about it is we have so many amazing mentors here at Respectability that are helping us not only reach out to people, but also helping us prepare to have those conversations, helping us kind of make decisions about who to reach out to and how. And so that piece is super easy in my opinion right now. But there's a lot of difficult tasks to it, especially since I'm an autistic person. And for those who know this, autistic people our disability has to do with communication and social cues and things like that. So we do need to learn a lot in order to be able to network effectively in this realm. But fortunately, we're working with a lot of people who are in the disability realm. And so they're kind of open to that difference, and then there's going to be some that aren't. So we're going to have to push past those stigmas that are out there. Another area, I do like to take classes like Rostam was talking about. And I like to meet with my fellows and brainstorm more things that we can do even outside of our fellowship. The other two policy fellows with me, we talk all the time, and we're all super passionate about things. And so when it's not a project we're doing for work, we're still sharing it with each other and thinking of ways that we can get involved in our personal lives with it. And I want to go back to what Jake said about separating things. I know a lot of people need that boundary, but for me, I thrive on this stuff. I thrive on the disability community. I come alive when I interact with other autistic people. And so having that in every area of my life is actually really good for my mental health, as long as I'm not in like constant conflict, you know. Like a lot of my friends at this point are people who are either in the disability community or the autistic community. I mean, aside from my household. And then I have children, and I want to raise children who are going to be fighting for the right things and understanding the world the way that it really is. And so there's those pieces as well. I kind of have to bring it into my personal life too, because it's so important to kind of get our next generation on board as well. So, and there's too many false narratives out there. So we got to make sure that they don't hear that and only that. So that's important to me. I like to do speaking engagements. I am doing a lot of those on the side as well. So it kind of it's just kind of expanding in every direction, I think. And with the fellowship, my biggest thing is learning from these people, because they're some of the best to learn from. I mean, we have amazing people here at Respectability, and I've been following you all for like way too long already. So it's not like I didn't already learn something from you guys before as well. But you also have a lot of resources on the website for anybody who isn't already in the program. You can learn a lot even before you join. And I think I may have taken up a lot of time just now, but we still have lots of time left. I'm not worried about it.
No, we have plenty of time, Grace. But no, and I appreciate that. I think that
Which is good, because I like to take up space.
it's all good. I think that, I actually wanted to build on something that you were saying before. Like you're sort of branching out into all these different areas. You're advancing your professional development in different ways. What does it look like for you when what does your career advancement path look like? What are you trying to get to? What is the end goal, do you think?
Well, does everyone want me to info dump about the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities? Because that is my obsession. And it's very likely going to be the path I'm trying to take.
Got it.
If anybody out there has any connections with that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I will jump on every opportunity to fight for that. I want the US to ratify it. I want the US to embody the elements of it. And I've been researching that even longer than I knew Respectability existed. I'm very, very, very into the UN CRPD. And so that will probably play the biggest role in where I go next and where I go down the road. And I'm staying in contact with Oli, because he is an amazing mentor as well, and also has a lot of connections, and he's just really, really amazing. And I know that he worked with a lot of you who are already here, so you know what I'm talking about. He's pretty amazing. And I have a lot more people that I'm going to talk to soon that also worked on this as well. So I think that this has been a really good place for me to be, to hone this and to learn more about what I need to do to move forward.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Grace. Yeah, and I know that Jake has worked a lot with Oli on some events for the Disability Training and Consulting Bureau. But Jake, what do you think is next for you? How are you going to advance your career? What are your end goals?
It's a great question. One of my end goals is such a far concept. I mean, my end goals will probably change 10 more times at this point. I think I really want to affect change wherever I go, whether it be in the nonprofit world, in the corporate world, in a different type of workplace setting. I think the most important thing is affecting change, and affecting change in that workplace, but also possibly in the greater society. I think that we do that at Respectability every day. We're creating change internally with Graciana's amazing DEIA work that he's spearheading, and then ultimately creating change in society through policy work, through entertainment, news, media work, through creating great leaders to then move on into the world and into different industries, in our inclusive philanthropy work, in our disability training work, to try to affect change at many organizations. So I think the most important thing is affecting change no matter where you go, and keeping that front of mind.
Yeah, fantastic. I love that. And I know that Rostam, you are, working on affecting change through policy and legislation, and the current work that you're doing as part of our policy team. Is that the end goal? Is that where you're hoping to be? Is that where you think you're going to make the most impact in your career?
I think that as of right now, that looks like where I want to be for the near and medium term.
Mhm.
What I would say is a goal of mine isn't necessarily like a career path. It's more creating like space for everybody to be their genuine selves, and kind of doing that with kindness, because I feel like we have a lot of opportunities to just make people realize that the work we do isn't just the work we do, we're working with people. So that's kind of what I want to do, whether if that manifests in politics, maybe down the road, like in a local position or in a state position, or maybe even like one day running for governor of California. If those opportunities come down the line, I would take them as quickly as I could. Sorry. But yeah, I think that's kind of what I try to do, and like figure out what opportunities are in front of me and which one of them kind of vibes with my morals and vibes with the world that I want to see and leave behind for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really great, Rostam. Thank you so much. All right, just a couple more questions that I'd like to ask each of you to just kind of gauge the fellowship and its impact. But how has the fellowship impacted your personal growth? Jake, I guess I'll start with you on that one.
So I think it really goes back to networking, learning from the incredible staff that we have. We have great experts in so many different fields. And as Grace said, when we are this passionate about disability inclusion, it's hard to ever walk away from it, to ever shake it from what we're doing. So I think it has contributed to me personally and professionally, knowing how to advocate for myself, knowing how to, deal with having a bad day at work. Everyone at Respectability has done it, and learning from them both as professionals and as people, I think is great. I've seen some great people come to Respectability and while I've been here, even seen some great people leave Respectability while I've been here. But the entire time I've been learning from great people, from staff, from board. Oli is a great person to learn from, and I love learning from him all the time. The trainers that I work with all the time are also great people to learn from. So really, keeping an open mind and learning from as many different sources as possible, I would say.
Oh, great. So I think just tapping into the educational opportunities that Respectability has provided. That's great. Thank you so much, Jake. Rostam, how about you? How did the fellowship impact your personal growth?
I think that one of the ways is like opening me up to different people and different experiences that I would not have as the person that I am, and seeing how different cultures interact and how we can like work together. Another one of the things that really has affected me personally is through the fellowship, I've made so many like long-lasting friendships, And that means like the world to me because, you know, I still have text chains with people that I try to check up on, and there are people that I haven't talked to that if I pick up the phone, it would be just like we just spoke yesterday. But being able to call the people that I work with friends, it means a lot to me because I really enjoy doing the work. So it doesn't, some days to me, I know a lot of people don't have this experience these days, but it kind of feels like I'm not coming to work. I'm coming to do something that's meaningful to me with people that actually mean something to me. So I'm very lucky that personally I can have that experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do think that, you know, we hear about the bonds that are made in these cohorts, and Grace has already talked a little bit about how she already bonded with some of her other policy fellows as well. But Grace, what else has impacted your personal growth in the fellowship?
Oh, I was going to say, yes, my friendships for sure so far. I mean, I don't want to get their heads too big because they're in the audience right now, but Abe and Caitlin are two of my closest friends right now. They are just amazing people, and we reach out to each other, not just for work stuff, but we can just chat too. And it's really, really great to have like-minded people who you get along with. I want to say that Rostam is one of the best mentors I've ever had. So, and what you were saying about a little bit ago about making it people-centered, I think that you already do that 100%. I work with you on such a regular basis, and you are 100% focused on our individual needs, what is best for us, what we're going to be doing for other people. Like, you are the most person-centered person I've ever met. And so I think that you're amazing at that. But I think it really is the connection. I think that that's what's really affected my life personally the most, is the connections. I think everybody here is great. I'm super lucky. I get to have Ariel, our CEO, as my other mentor, and they are amazing, super amazing. They have so much good advice and really, really smart, and we have a good connection there too. So I think that there's so much. I mean, I'm a little bit sad because Ben is gone, but and he was a really important part of all this, and he was so amazing, and I don't want to talk about him too much because I might cry on camera, and that would be ridiculous right now. But well, maybe not ridiculous, but not what I'm looking to do right this moment. But he was such a kind and good person, and a really, really, really good mentor. And even in a short amount of time that I worked with him, I learned a lot, and I gained a lot from his personality as well. So I think I'll carry that on too in my life as well as in my professional development. What else can I jibber jabber about? I think I'm going to stop there, even though I probably could share a lot more.
No, thank
Just
you.
remember, folks, 5 times the charm. The saying is wrong. 5 times is the charm.
5 times is the charm. Absolutely. Yes, no, and I appreciate it, Grace, and thank you so much for sharing. I definitely think that it is a lot about the connections and how people tend to try to make this experience. And so, you know, my final question for you all, we now have reopened the fellowship applications, and it's something that we want people to apply and think about applying to this program. What is it? What makes a great fellowship candidate, in your opinion? I want to hear from each of you. What do you think the best fellowship candidate is? What does that person look like? Describe them to me. I'll start with Rostam.
So I think that if we want to look at what the greatest attributes of the fellowship candidate would be, is, are you passionate and willing to do the work for other people while being able to learn and share your thoughts? The best advice I would give would be just apply. You never know, right? If you don't apply, you won't get in. If you do apply, you might get in, or it might take 5 times for you to get in. So it just, anyone who feels like they want to do it should do it, no matter what it is that they're doing. Just apply, because you'll learn something from the process, even if you don't get it. It's just all a great learning experience.
No, it's definitely a great learning experience. You'll get to work with some incredibly passionate people, some quirky people, some would even say, as well. So there's that. Jake, what about you? What would you add?
Yeah, so we want people who are really going to push the envelope, ask questions, push our thinking to new limits. I always kind of say that most of the staff members here think pretty similarly. So our fellows that we bring in twice a year really push us to think differently. And that's a real strength. We also want someone who's going to take advantage of the network. We take advantage of the network in terms of the staff, board, each other. We are all great sources of information, and we really want to impart that knowledge and wisdom upon others. So we want someone who's going to ask, who's going to set up one-on-ones with us, who's going to, really be persistent about setting up meetings. You might not get a response the first time, but really just keep pushing for that meeting. As Grace was the most persistent in applying for the fellowship, you have to keep being persistent, and that's really how you succeed in life, is by following up and by making sure you get that meeting, or you get that person to review your application, or things like that.
Yes, today's panel was brought to you by the letter P for persistence. Absolutely. Grace, what else would you add?
You keep taking my answers out of my mouth before I speak.
I'm so sorry.
Because I repeat myself a lot? I think it is because I repeat myself a lot. That's persistence too.
I'll say it's because great minds think alike, right?
Okay. I'm sure it's just because I keep saying it. But I actually have 2 things. One is persistence, which I could say 60 times in a row if you want. But I do want to let you know that it's not just because I'm persistent, but it's also because of the mindset I had when being persistent. My mindset was, this is a competitive application process, and there are a lot of amazing people getting in, and it doesn't mean that you weren't amazing when you don't get in. It means you're going to be amazing next time, or the next time, or the next time, and you'll get in at some point if you really, really want it. That's why I was persistent. It wasn't that I sat there saying, oh man, I wasn't good enough. I sat there and I said, and I say that a lot in my life. Everybody does from time to time, unless you don't feel that way, but a lot of people do. But I sat there and I said, you know what? They have so many amazing candidates. They're going to have a great cohort now, and I'm going to be on a great cohort later. And so I just kept trying. And besides that, I said to myself, it's not going to hurt me to try. I mean, it's not really going to hurt me to try. And if I keep trying and I don't get it, it's the same as if I didn't try, but I actually need to try in order to get it. You can't win the lottery without playing, right? My other advice, I think I may have lost that thought while talking about persistence.
Keep trying, Grace, you'll get it.
Yeah.
I will. I'll just keep talking. I think something that's really important is the desire to really make a difference. The persistence is great, the passion is great, but what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about learning, or are you passionate about learning so that you can do something with it? Are you passionate about moving forward, not just as yourself, but with a purpose, with a movement, with something that's going to affect others in a real way. That's maybe where, oh, I came up with it. I thought of it. See, I knew if I kept talking, I would come up with the other one. The other one is when you're doing the application, and this is what I did on my 5th one and not on the previous 4, is spend extra time organizing your thoughts on your goals, because that played a role in my application process. Now, mind you, I got 4 interviews out of those 5 times I applied. So I don't think it was my application that was really the problem, but I don't think I was really a problem in the first place. But I think that I'm really happy that I got this cohort, because I think that it's a good fit for me. And I think that we need more people like our current cohort and our past cohort. We need more people doing this. So anyone who wants to join, do it, because it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Now I'm done jabbering.
Grace has definitely hit the nail on the head here. It is, there is so much work to be done in disability inclusion and disability advocacy. We need more warriors in this fight. We want to make sure that we're bringing more people in. So that opportunity is always going to be available. And the reality is that we want to make sure that we're giving people the opportunity to lead in this space outside of us. We love bringing people into the fellowship. We also love holding on to them and making them employees, as you can see from Rostam and Jake, Isabella. We have other team members as well who were part of the fellowship and are now full-time employees. And you know, even Ben was a part of the fellowship before he became a fellowship director and leader as well. So we do this work to make sure that we are bringing up these leaders to stay with us, but also to go on and do great and amazing things. And so with that, we hope that you will apply for the fellowship. I hope that you've learned a lot from speaking to our current and former fellows. Thank you all so much for being a part of this panel. Thank you, Grace, Rasim, and Jake. And we really hope that you all have enjoyed RespectAbility's programming regarding NDEAM. You know, we hope to bring this to you next year, but also throughout the year, make sure that we are talking about the importance of employment for people with disabilities. Our Leadership and Workforce Development Department is working hard to make sure that we are bringing further awareness to the need for competitive integrative employment for people with disabilities. We are doing the work that needs to happen to make that a reality. And we want you to also join in that fight as well. So thank you for joining us. And until next year, we'll bring you more NDEAM programming. Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thank you.